Alright, so we are here with Bobby Blitz of Overkill, and Overkill is back in action after a long break due to pandemic. How does it feel to be back?
Good to be back. Good to see you, Mark. Good to see you. Seeing me. Everything's well. We're about 8 days into the tour. Speaking to you now from Juliet, Illinois, at a place called The Forge, where Mark and I have done some talking in the past. But the first 8 shows were great. I mean, it was like being thrown into the deep end of the pool, but something we've been craving for 2 years in this pandemic. These shows are almost to the day of when we were cut, when they closed everything down around the 12th of March 2020.
So during this downtime, what is it that you guys did?
Well, we wrote a record. I mean, that's one of the things. We didn't record all of the parts yet. Like to keep it as fresh as possible. The drums are done, the guitars are done. Dee Dee and I need to sit down and finalize a few things. We're looking for an April 2023 release, followed by a European tour.
Were you able to kind of step away from music and do other things that you normally would not have time for?
I suppose so, but there wasn't a lot of other places to go, you know, during the pandemic. I mean, I did a whole lot of motorcycle riding, a lot of solitary stuff. Messed around with a couple of my cars that I have. Actually wrote some other things that were personal with regard to all the touring. When your mind's comes up with an idea or comes up with an event, something you went through, and it was Cleveland 1987 and the Fuck You record, and I started writing down who I remember from that time, and so maybe kind of an outline to a memoir for the future.
Actually, that was my next question. During this time off from actively playing, is there any chance that you're going to actually write down about the 42 years of being in the band?
Well, that's what I was doing. I just didn't, I had the opportunity to kind of reflect on it. So, it's nothing that is in readable form. It's more just kind of free-handed notes with dates, and many of the dates I had to look up on the internet. I mean, I think I forget the website, but there's a guy out there who he's documented every date we've ever played, even as a cover band, all the way to the present day. It's an Overkill, just chronological from the beginning, from New Jersey shows before we were signed, being a cover band, all the way up to the Wings of War.
Now, you mentioned the new songs. What are those like in comparison to the last, let's say, 2 albums?
Well, it's going to be hard to figure it out for me until it actually takes shape. It seems a little bit more eclectic for us. It's riff driven, not rhythm driven. The songs will contain 2 or 3 different riffs throughout it, the main, and then 2 that are kind of secondary riffs, which I think is a little bit unique for us to be singing over something like that. Heavy, of course. I mean, there's some Sledgehammer stuff on it. That kind of big, thick groove. I think the other side of it is that it shows. I think it shows kind of experienced speed would be the word. Some of them just take off.
Now, also during your time away from music, how did you even feel about being in the band and being so active, and all of a sudden there's this flat line? Do you appreciate being in the band more now? Because I don't think you ever had a break like this.
No, I mean, someone even asked me, and I mentioned to you earlier, we were just talking, what's the toughest time you had in the band? I said, it's now, during the pandemic. This is it. This is the longest I haven't been able to do what I've done or what we've done. And listen, I know other people went through hell through this whole thing too. It's not just about the band, but on a personal level, that was pretty tough to lose that kind of lifeblood, that touring kind of a thing. To be able to go away 6 times a year, do festivals, do full U.S. tours, do full European tours, etc., etc. So it was a very unique time, and I guess uncertain to some degree, but not to the point where I was worried about it. But it still had a feeling of uncertainty wrapped around it.
What was it like financially for the band? Because after all, this is your job. This is where your income comes from.
Well, sure, it hurt. Yeah, of course it hurt. I mean, there was...
How did you manage?
Me?
Well, all of you.
Prostituted myself.
Yeah, I've seen some few ads.
It was a small family business. It was prostitution and guns. I ran it out of the basement. But I don't know. You made things happen. I mean, there was, I did some vocals for some other people. I have, there's a little business I have, but that was shut down for a while too. It wasn't a great amount of income, but there was residuals coming in, royalties, et cetera, et cetera. So it wasn't zero income. It was just something that was, it's kind of slapped down to less than 50%.
What would you say is the secret to the longevity of Overkill?
Well, I mean, we like doing it. I mean, that's first and foremost. You have to like the shows, you know. The band really doesn't exist, I don't think, without touring. I mean, our visibility is about face-to-face contact with people, not necessarily just records. Sure, some people just have the records and haven't seen the band, but I would think that that's for sure the minority.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned to appreciate that, years ago, because I like being on the road and I love doing the shows. It's the motivational part of this for me.
Finally, you and Didi, one of the longest running partnerships in heavy metal. What's your secret? And you know what? I hope I'm not saying anything wrong, because I asked that question Wolf Hoffman of Accept about him and Peter Baltis, and he gave me this great answer, and a month later Peter was gone, and I still don't know why, so I hope I'm not jinxing anything here.
Oh boy. Then I'm not answering.
I know.
I'm gonna tell you, of course we disagree on things. I think that's just human, especially when you consider it to be a business. Now, first you have the love of music, and then you have the business. But I think one of the things that we've always agreed upon was that we disagree behind closed doors, and when we open the door, we speak in one voice. And I think that kind of respect for each other has always given us the opportunity for the next opportunity, because we always will be unified in it. We'll do our disagreements behind a door. We'll come up with our compromises. We'll take, yes, you could be right. No, I don't think you're right. But when we come out and we present ourselves to the public or to a business associate, we speak in one voice.
Thank you.
That's not a jinx.